Starting to look like it grew there. Like mold in the corner of the shower. I don't see any more air gaps in here on either side. I think I'm close enough to leave that alone. I can fine tune it later. See, my safety is jammed somewhere. I gotta figure out why that safety won't move. It's hitting something down in there. But I'm gonna work on the bottom, getting that bottom in there. I don't know why that safety won't work. Maybe if I put it in with the safety already forward, it might tell me what it's hitting. Yeah, this front of the safety is hitting right there, is hitting on the front of that little slot I milled out. Well, that was hard, wasn't it? I will bed this thing in epoxy. I've said it before and I stand by it. If these things had been bedded, more of them wouldn't be trying to be fixed now. They'd still be together. But either they didn't think that or they didn't have the technology. I don't know how long bedding's been going on, really. And I don't really know how old this piece is. I'm starting to get a pretty consistent black line down the side of this where it touches on the sides. And I'm not going to cut that out right yet, but that's letting me know that that gap I had over here is starting to fill up. Before I get too far along, when you release the barrels, you pull this lever to the right side, and this plunger comes back right here where my finger is. See, that plunger comes back. It's got to be able to travel in there probably a heavy 1/8 of an inch. Maybe more like a 1/10. No. 1/10 is less than 1/8. It's got to go in there nearly 3/16 of an inch. And what that does, it pushes the safety back. And so I got to relieve down in here. I've got to mark that spot. So what I'm going to do is try to put a little pressure on that lever and tap this backwards. Try to leave me an imprint, a mark. Yeah, that left me a print, a mark. See where this thing sticks back, it comes back probably close to 3/16 of an inch, and it pushes a safety. There's a safety rod that hits that thing. It pushes it back, and I can measure the width and the height of it, and I've got a clear edge here, and I got a clear bottom edge there, so I can just measure with that corner. I can measure enough to mill that out. I have this top tang and receiver fitted to my satisfaction. When you push that down and in and back, it stays. It doesn't stay enough for me to take my hand out from under it because of the weight of the front of this thing, and here is just too much for that little tang right there to hold it in. It will tip out. But I have it. I'm satisfied it's correct. The only thing I can't really work out of it, and I don't know why, is it wants to tip a little bit sideways this way. It wants to it doesn't lock in too well. There's nothing really to keep it locked in left to right on the bottom, and the bottom tang is going to stop that. But I have it fitted well enough to where I'm happy with it. It's touching in all the places it needs to touch, and it has clearance in all the other places. All the black marks are not gone because I think it needs to hit here. It needs to be touching back here, and so I'm leaving those for right now. It's hitting nicely around these little curls on the front, those little sexy things right there, it's touching really tight right there. I like that. When that's trimmed, when the excess is trimmed off here on the top, that's going to be pretty. It's a pretty little piece, really. All that carving and engraving all over it. It's a nice little shotgun. So I'm going to flip it over and start with the bottom. The next thing that I have to make sure about is that this thing is centered on my center line, left to right. And this is kind of a eyeball way to do it, but I don't know of another way to do it right now. So I'm just going to put one of those points right there on the inside edge of this, and the other one comes over to the center line. Let's see if that's the same. It's not. Actually, I said this thing was wanting to rock a little bit clockwise, and it actually, if you do that, it makes it closer to the center line. So it was trying to find its own center, even though I wasn't recognizing it. That is correct. And so that's where it wants to sit. So I'm going to try to mark that as good as I can. On a rough sawed piece of wood. That's close. For right now, that's just going to have to be close enough. That's within a few thousandths. I'm good with that. What I could do is actually put a little cut mark in it, which is more accurate than a pencil mark. Yeah, that's a lot more accurate. I can see that better. Now I've got to get some lines to cut this trigger tang out. I found out something in looking at this. This big lug right here is the forward-backward stabilizer. You can see that this is slanted right here and here. So this thing drops into a pocket, a big square pocket right in here, and I'll bed that. And there's also a screw that comes down from the top and ends up right there in that hole that pulls this whole thing together. It's a really strong way of doing it. I really appreciate this after the last one I had, which had a screw here and a screw back here, and that was it. So I'm going to try to get some, I got to get this out of the way, and this is holding this in, but I'll get some marks here in a minute. But this lug is what I'm going to concentrate on. This is a straight through mill because that safety connects with the button on top. These they are what they are. They don't, these trigger blades don't stick up above this main block right here, and so I'm good with just milling out to there. Yeah, this is a pretty straightforward trigger group. So what I'll do is put a line on this metal that represents the back of the line between the wood and the metal. I'll come across here with a piece of tape and mark it so I can lay this on there without this in the way. Now that's, safety's in the back position. No, it's not. There it is. It's in the back position. My tape is lined up with the front edge of this. So this is as far back as that safety gets milled out. This big lug is, I'm not going to take all of it out. I'm going to take part of it out. And then I'm going to come back and fine tune that. So that's the lug, and it is about 7/16 wide. I hope it's in the center. That's a half, almost a half. Almost. So if I cut that out, and that thing goes about an inch deep, just a touch over an inch, and that's from the finished edge, and this has got a little bit of overkill, so I need to go probably an inch and a 32nd. And 1/32. Deep. And then this part in between here, this is a 1/4 inch mill out, and then it comes up to about right there. And it widens out to whatever that is. Looks like about 3/8. That is 0.317. Pretty close to 3/8, a little bit less than 3/8. This goes about 625, 5/8 of an inch deep. Just a little over 5/8. And this is through. That one goes straight through. All right, to the mill. This comes out the front, and it's about as deep as, right now I'm at 5/8, and it's about that much that comes out of the front. So I'm going to go ahead and take a bunch of this out. I'm actually going to lighten it up to about 9/16, and you just punch right out the front of it. Chances are, I'm going to have to put this thing back in here, so I'm going to go ahead and mark this position in the vise, because that, what I just did was a guess. I just measured that. That's about 20 thousandths over 5/8. And this is an inch and a light 16th, which is, I wanted about an inch and a 32nd. And this punches all the way through right here. It goes out the other side.